Hi everyone, my name is Christian Barker and this is Banter with Barker, my ongoing series of Instagram Live interviews during this time of crisis, talking with interesting people from different walks of life and different occupations about how they are dealing with this remarkable time in history. And today we've got someone very, very interesting on the line. Her name is Emma Willis MBE. An amazing shirt maker out of London. She has just joined us. She's been doing some brilliant stuff. Well, not just during this crisis period, but for a very long time was the founder, or is the founder, of an initiative called Style for Soldiers, which is all about, well, here she is. I'll let Emma say herself. Emma, it's a great pleasure to be speaking with you. The stars have aligned and we are talking today.
Yes, at last, Christian. Apologies for the summer failure.
Oh, not at all. These things happen. There are problems with technology, problems with, just that life throws up for us. Life is what happens when we're busy making other plans, isn't it? But how have you been going over this this tumultuous and very difficult 6 months that we've all faced?
Well, it seems such a long time ago, March, when everything ground to a halt, and we all convened in my factory in our lovely 18th century townhouse, and we all got together with all the seamstresses and the cutters and everyone. And I said, I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's going to happen, but somehow we'll get through this. Sales had completely stopped. The online sales, it's just everything went silent. The shop we had to close, which has been our lifeline throughout. So and we got messages from all our big wholesale people, Netta Porter, Mr. Porter, Matches Fashion, Men's, Women, saying, we're good, don't worry, we're going to stand by you, but we're just going to have to wait and see. So it was pretty momentous. And we then everybody said we'll do whatever to make it work. We'll go on a half-day week. We'll do whatever to save jobs and things. And then I think only just literally the next day, the government introduced the furlough scheme, which was the absolute saviour. And so therefore we could furlough pretty well everybody. And then we just kept like 3 crucial people, a cutter, one of our sort of bespoke cutters, and also 2 of our most experienced seamstresses, make sure we had somebody who could do all parts of the shirt. And then we kept on our lady who does all our nightwear and our boxer shorts. And actually she was the busiest of all.
Okay, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that's
actually
gradually dipped in and out, depending on, actually the online sales tripled over the 3 months. I spent my whole time in Gloucester at my work, at the workrooms at our factory, and put all my energy into online sales, which I don't normally do. I'm normally more sort of in the shop. So Crystal, my COO, and I just really, really reached out to customers like I used to before I had a shop, and got on the telephone, rang people, and actually we had some lovely communication. Customers, a lot of people were bored at home, and so tempting them with a pair of lovely cashmere pajamas or dressing gowns wasn't that hard here and there.
I imagine. But I think you've kept very busy, not only with a switch to keeping people comfortable in their homes, but I know it's a remarkable story that we went into a little bit back around March, where you were telling me about the work that you've been doing, creating PPE, personal protective equipment, for the doctors of the NHS. So if you could perhaps reiterate what that story was and how that all came about, how you switched to creating some beautiful Alumo cotton PPE for the heroes of the British National Health Service.
Well, so everybody sort of went home furloughed, and then the cutter who was there, one of our bespoke cutters, Sam, her mother works in the local hospital, in the huge Gloucester Royal Hospital, and she and Sam came to me and said, Emma, do you think there's any way we could make some scrubs, because the hospital are really, really desperate for them, and they're in need. They were in desperate need, supply just wasn't coming through fast enough. And they had to now have all the medical staff had to be in scrubs every day, whereas a lot of them used to, and the surgeons used to just go in normal clothes. So there was a sudden huge surge in need. And so we got everybody, so we got everybody back, which was so great because nobody really wanted to go home, and just, it was so weird, just stopping. And everybody retrained making scrubs, and they were actually very similar to the pajama bottom, so that was good, but the tops were very different. It was actually quite a new thing to learn for them. And we just went through all our fabric, and I said, we're not going to be using our fabric for a while, just use everything, maybe not the twofold 200, most expensive, but we did use everything, like twofold 170s, twofold 100s, 140s, and we just got cutting and making scrubs. Really real sense of urgency. And every evening I would go to, it was boiling then, the weather in England became incredibly hot. Which was, of course, even worse for them. We heard afterwards when they're wearing, and in the intensive care wards, which we were making for the intensive care wards in Gloucester, Cheltenham, and then we actually ended up doing it for about 5 other hospitals, 2 in London, 3 in London, 1 in Wales, and in Oxford. So we used all our cottons, and we just made, and then in the evening I would take all of the big boxes of scrubs and take them to the distribution place at Gloucester Royal, which by the end of the time we were making, there were huge lorries arriving from the NHS lorries delivering PPE, but at that time it was just me with boxes and a few other ladies turning up with masks and things, but they were so grateful for them. And they were literally sort of ripped out of my hands. I became best friends with the head nurse, Steve, who was marvelous, and Dawn, who was head of PPE, and we all became great friends. And they were all working under such pressure, and Dawn was my favorite. She was working till like 10 in the evening and keeping everything under control, on the laundry and everything, because the hospital was really full then. They were definitely in, because there were so many, all vulnerable. There were so many people who were vulnerable in the community who were catching it. A lot of the homeless people. It was really, really difficult for them. And they were absolutely full. It was so rewarding. And then actually Reese, the brand Reese, who have already been incredibly supportive of our Staff Soldiers charity, giving free suits to all the soldiers, they heard about it, and then they donated us 1,000 meters of beautiful deep blue navy end on end cotton. So then we didn't have to use our cotton. We have raised money as well. Our customers were fantastic, and lots of people very kindly donated towards our donation of the cotton. But then we were given this, beautiful cotton. So now we had no shortage, and we just did that for like 3 months. We just made scrubs, and then we made some gowns, and it was really, really rewarding for us all to, it kept it, and so nice. And the feedback we got so many boxes of chocolates and cakes sent over to us from nurses and doctors, and thank you.
I was going to ask you, I'm sure you got some incredible feedback, and just must for those frontline workers who were, as you say, working so incredibly hard, and in the peak of a British summer, and who must have, it must have been something really pleasant to at least have been able to have done so in clothing that was a little bit more, gentle to the touch and breathable, and all of that sort of thing.
Yep. Yes. Yep. They said it made all the difference, because they were wearing, layers and layers and masks and visors, and it was boiling hot, and obviously working under incredible pressure. So it was very nice to know that it made a lot of difference. Actually, a few of the surgeons then wanted to purchase them, so so we did some fairly major discounts with those. But also it was lovely, because I said, what about color wise? Because we had all these beautiful linens that come in, and they're very light, our linens, and they said any color, we just want to be cheered up. We made all these bright raspberry colored linen scrubs as well. And so all
Wonderful.
rules were out, and they were just, sense of emergency, but also, let's just be cheered up. Let's all wear whatever colors.
We just had someone commenting and saying that you made 2 beautiful scrubs for their friends who work in ICU, who were hugely grateful. I'm sure you had, you know, a million of those remarks, which must have been yeah, very fulfilling at a time when you didn't have your regular customers. But have things have the regular supply chains come back to normal, and the situation normalized a little bit now, where you can get back to your usual stock in trade?
Well, certain elements, I mean, the online sales, as I said, did triple over the summer, sort of with full effort on them. April, May, June. Then we opened the shop. I tried to open the shop in July, but it was absolutely, it was very, very quiet in St James's, in our area. I think a lot of people had fled for the country who were able to, and it was still very, very quiet. So then I decided to leave it, to not flog a dead horse, and just wait until until we were comfortable. So we opened in September. Gradually, we still had a lot of people furloughed. We opened on the second week of September, and I was very, very happily surprised. On the train coming up, it was really quiet. There's practically nobody on the train, and I thought, well, nobody's, I could see no one was commuting, and I thought, oh, this is very worrying. But I arrived, and then the shop, it was just great. People started to come in. They said, oh God, it's so nice to see shops open. It's so nice you've opened, Emma. Just as normal, everyone was so happy, and the people were going out for lunch. It was still quite sunny. And the lovely restaurant opposite me, Franco's, where the tables were all outside, all spaced out. Everybody now had tables. Cafe Morana around the corner had tables all outside, and the sun was shining, and it was just, you could get the sense of everyone so happy to get back to something normal. And actually, we've had 3 really, really good weeks in the shop. So now we have got everybody, as of today, everyone's unfurloughed. We have 1 part-time worker who works from home, who is not, but otherwise we're all back. And we've had a lot of press requests, and from some fantastic publications as well. So we've been doing quite a lot of quick sort of special things as well. But yeah, the bespoke has really, and the ready to wear in the shop has really, really livened up much more than I would imagine. It's very much people who are in London. I don't think people are commuting, or they're coming up for one day to do everything, to do all their things that they need to do, a business meeting, buy their shirts, and go out to lunch. So
well, that's wonderful news. I've been hearing from a lot of the suit tailors that it's a difficult time, and that their orders have kind of plummeted. Do you think you're in a slightly rosier position as a shirt maker, where people might not be feeling that they need a new suit or several new suits, which they might have done in the past on a seasonal or annual basis, but I'm sure that most of your customers are still, when they're doing Zoom calls or when they're around the house, they're still wearing a proper collared shirt. So perhaps they're they're still placing those orders that they might have been done. Is that what you're finding, or is it still a bit of a struggle?
Yes, I think we're luckier as a shirt maker than a tailor. Because people do wear shirts casually, and they wear them with jeans, and they wear them, it's a jeans, it's a shirt or a t-shirt, isn't there, or a polo shirt. So I have, people have said they've worn our shirts throughout lockdown. And we do a lot in the smart casual now too, with the linens and the brush cottons. And the linens are so cheerful and so happy. I only just took them out of the window. In the end, I had to accept it was autumn. But we've now done all the brush cottons, and so they're very smart casual look. Our shirts work well as well. You can roll up the sleeves, open the collar. And as I said, the nightwear has been amazing, because we don't normally do that much in dressing gowns and pajamas. Boxer shorts is always really good, and we have done so much in boxer shorts, pajamas, and dressing gowns. I mean, that has been extraordinary. I mean, there must be so many well-dressed men wandering around their houses, not maybe all day long in their smart dressing gowns and pajamas. I'm not sure, but
Maybe.
I think it's luckier being in shirts than the tailors. But then I've also seen some people come really dressed up into the shop, and it's just such a joy to see now. And I've seen, you know, full, you know, beautiful suits and ties and cufflinks, and we're going to have spats next. You know, in a way, I think some people are really enjoying. And I've talked to them, and these are young men. And one young man who actually put on my Instagram last week came in, and he's teacher, teaches maths at King's College, and also does some consultation with this. And he bought the paisley dressing gown, and he was immaculate. He had a beautiful rolled umbrella and a briefcase, shiny briefcase, and he looked so good. And he said, you know, it was such a pleasure to dress up again.
Absolutely. Well, something I've been discussing with a lot of people is that you know, there's kind of a theory going around that perhaps if this period in time is a reflection of you know, what we saw a century ago with coming out of the Spanish flu, which was, you know, equally you know, a human disaster, that after that we saw sort of the roaring 20s come along, and people being very dandyish and exuberant in the way they were dressing. So perhaps, you know, that's what we're gonna see in the coming years, with people who've been sitting around at home in their tracksuit bottoms for 6 months or a year or however long this is going to be, then going out there and getting a pink suit made or whatever it may be. Yeah,
definitely. I can imagine that. You know, it's the pleasure of just being out, and you do, you know, it's very different when you come, you know, going into sort of formal areas of cities too. You just don't feel right wearing casual clothes. You know, you can feel, it depends where you are. Some areas, you know, it's just, you just don't feel that, you know, the certain areas that make you, you know, raise your game and dress in certain areas of life. I mean, people say, well, we have set up a little thing in the shop with a whole black tie thing with an ivory silk shirt and a bow tie and silk grosgrain, and then we've made a silk grosgrain mask to go with it. And people just look longingly and they say, when am I next going to wear this? I said, just wear it at home, have a dinner party for 6 people and dress up in black tie.
Sure, why not?
People sort of
why
longing.
not?
Yes.
Well, you were mentioning a moment ago Style for Soldiers, which is an amazing initiative. And how do you kind of describe that for those who are unfamiliar with that? It's been going for roughly a decade, I think now. Am I right?
Yeah, yes, it is. It's over 10. Last year was 10 years.
Okay.
Well, it was over the height of the Afghan conflict, and I had a program on Radio 4. And it was a documentary inside the military rehabilitation hospital, Headley Court. And it was incredibly moving. It was interviewing 2 very young soldiers, and they'd had terrible injuries, both injuries by IEDs, improvised explosive devices in Afghanistan. And one had lost both legs, one had lost his vision. And you could tell how afraid they were about having to leave the forces as a result of their injuries, and they were just clinging on to that. They showed no fear or, you know, self-pity. They were incredible and very humorous and amazing, but it was so obvious how afraid they were at the thought of having to lose their careers. And I just thought, how, you know, what more could you visit upon a young man or woman than that, having to start again at 19 with a terrible injury. So I was very, very moved by it, and I was affected by it. And so I was thinking, what can I do? And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then I thought one day I can make them a shirt. I can make them a shirt to fit them. I know I could make a shirt to fit anyone. So I'll try and go to the hospital and measure them for a shirt at least. And it took me about a year to get into the hospital, but I just was determined. It was hard because obviously security, making sure my reasons were right, working out how I was going to fund it. And in the end, I tried a few sort of the bigger charities to see if they'd fund it, but it all sounded such an extraordinary idea, I think, to everyone. But anyway, in the end, I just said, right, reapproached them and said, can we do it for Christmas? It was Christmas 2008. We'll fund it ourselves and just come in and give everyone a Christmas present. And they said, okay, Emma, come and give it a go. And And so from then on, I went every 2 months for about 8 years. But at the height, there was so many people there, and I met so many people. So my database is about 700 injured service personnel now who I've kept. You know, some of them I haven't kept in touch with, and a lot I have. And discovering their challenges that they faced along that terribly difficult journey of a terrible life-changing injury, and then having to leave the forces, face medical discharge, and try and start a new career. We tried to do what we could do through clothing to help them, and discovered that, you know, it really, really did help their self-esteem and their morale to be wearing a nice, well-fitting piece of clothing. So we obviously started with shirts. Then I contacted M&S, and Steve Rowe, the CEO, was fantastic and said straight away, we'll come on board. They gave over 750 suits. Reese now have come on board, and they're now giving as many suits as we need. I went to Russell and Bromley, which was actually one of the soldiers introduced me to, and Stuart and Grania Bromley. It's a family-run, fantastic company with, again, military sort of background and interest. They came aboard. They've given hundreds of pairs of beautiful shiny brogues that they can wear. So we've basically given them the whole uniform to start a new career, to go to an interview feeling confident, or maybe it might be for a wedding. So you dress them for a wedding. It might be dress them for a date. But and then we also read that a lot of them having to use walking sticks now. If you lost a leg, or, you know, got a prosthetic, or had injuries that affected that. So we made a beautiful sort of ebony walking stick with a buffalo horn handle, which is ideal for shaping in the right shape, and a silver band with their regiments and their initials on. So and then we realised that reunion parties were very important to get them together again, because they get very isolated. They go leaving the forces, and it's their friends and their families. So now we give huge parties, and we give the biggest parties for injured service personnel reunions, and we give all the partners £100 to buy a dress and shoe, whatever they buy. They always come looking like it's the Oscars, and we've done that for 8 years now. The parties, they've grown and grown. Sadly, of course, this year we've had to cancel it, which has been a really big disappointment to everybody. But we're calling 2021 is going to be the year of the party. Because we give quite a few now. We give a race day and a golf day, and we do lots of different get-togethers, and a children's day at Woburn Safari Park with the Duke of Bedford, who owns Woburn Safari Park. He gives us a free family day every summer as well. So it's a real collaboration.
Okay. What drove you to, or what drives you, I should say, to take up these kind of causes, to do your part, whether it's for the NHS or whether it's for the returned servicemen, you know, because you don't have to. So what is it that drives you to be, or motivates you, or inspires you to do your part so generously?
I think, you know, when you see something that you can, it's sort of instinctive. It's like, you know, it's if you can do something, I think if you're struck, you can't be struck by everything in life, because obviously one is faced throughout your life. You constantly see terrible human challenges. You can't do everything, and you can't. But when there's something you see that moves you, my instinct is, what can I do? What can I do? And so that's, I'd say, I mean, it was Sam who prompted me to do that. Is Samantha, you know, to our company, prompted us to do it was her idea to do the scrubs, but to be able to do that and to make that work. And I mean, I say to the soldiers as well, they have brought me us, you know, as a company, so much business, because so many people, I know I've had customers coming into the shop and from all over the world, and they say they Google, you know, best British shirt makers. But the fact of what we do with supporting injured service personnel is what makes them choose us rather than somebody else. Obviously, it wasn't the reason for doing it, but far from it. But it's you know, what, you know, the old thing of what you put in, you get out in life. And certainly what we've done. And then also for the people that I work with, you know, the cutters and the seamstresses and the pattern makers and the packers and the pressers and all my wonderful team and the girls and, you know, us here in the shop. It makes your job so much more rewarding. You know, it enriches that. And again, I say to the servicemen as well, you give me much more security of the loyalty of my staff here in the business, because one of the reasons they like working for the company is because of what we do with the making clothes for the injured service personnel. And then obviously this in the summer, over the summer, it was making them for the NHS staff. But it was interesting to think, and I hadn't, you know, we realized that, you know, we were making for frontline servicemen, and now we were making for frontline medical staff. And then there was quite a lot of overlap, because I met a lot of amazing surgeons and nurses and prosthetists and things through Staff for Soldiers and through going to the hospital. And there's a phenomenal surgeon who was out in Afghanistan in Helmand, Shahan Heterachi, and he operated and saved the lives of so many injured servicemen. He won an award in the London bombings for his bravery and his phenomenal work. And then he was in the intensive care wards in London, working with coronavirus patients. So you know, there were a few of the same surgeons that we had got to know, but we were now making them scrubs, whereas then before they were, you know, helping the servicemen. So yeah, it just makes everyone's work so much more rewarding.
Absolutely. And you've had some of your quite prominent clients, I believe, throw some of their support from a profile standpoint and from a financial support standpoint as well. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we had out of the blue, I got a call from Benedict Cumberbatch in the middle of the when we were probably sort of about early April, and from Australia, where he was locked down. I have made clothes for him for various films and things before, but I haven't met him. I don't know him, and so so I hadn't met him directly. Yes, I'd measured him, and I had, but you know, only on the basis of making shirts for him for films and things. But so I suddenly had a call from Benedict from Australia, where he was locked down with his family mid filming, and said he would love to. He'd heard about the scrubs for surgeons, and he would love to support it. And how could he do that? And I said, well, we've been raising money. We've been aiming to raise £30,000, I think it was. And he said, well, how much more have you got left to do? And I said, we got 12,000. He said, sorted, count it done. And so it was amazing. I mean, it was just so, how fantastic. And everybody obviously at the factory and everything, that was such a special thing to happen out of the blue. David Gandy's been phenomenal with Staff for Soldiers, and he has just been, and also with the scrubs. He did a wonderful video for the Nightingale Hospital. One of the staff at the Nightingale Hospital contacted me and said, and a wonderful woman who does marketing for them, would David ever do a video to cheer up all the nurses and the staff there? So David did a wonderful video with his baby. And David's been incredible. He comes to all our parties, Staff for Soldiers. He's been a wonderful mentor to lots of the young servicemen. And we've had some really great sort of celebrity input into our various things.
Well, it's wonderful. Well, look, I know you've got to run. You've got a busy day ahead with all of the staff having come back online just today, which is amazing. But you know, we've talked about all of this brilliant work that you've done, which of course is hugely admirable, and you know, I'm sure you find enormously rewarding, but is really really laudable. So well done. But look, aside from all of that, and the thing that surprises me is you didn't get your MBE for all of these wonderful charitable endeavors. You did get it for, I think, for services to entrepreneurship, if I'm correct. Or is that right?
It was. It was for entrepreneurship. I think, you know, towards the doing British manufacturing, sticking loyally to making our own shirts all the way through for 35 years now. And so, but I must say, I think it was, I'm sure, as well,
Well,
the work we do with Staff for Soldiers.
But the question I have for you is, you know, no one's going to, sorry, my dog is going crazy in the background here, just to disturb us. My question is, you know, no one is going to come and become your customer simply for the fact that you do all of this great work. You must do great work insofar as your shirt making goes. That's the most important thing. So my final question is, what is it, you know, in a nutshell, in the sort of elevator pitch, or in, you know, 150 characters or less, whatever, that, you know, really sets an Emma Willis shirt apart from the competition? You know, you've got some great shirt makers as neighbours there in St James's. What is it that sets an Emma Willis shirt apart from others?
Well, we use all the traditional methods of shirt making. So we do single needle stitching on all the seams, which is a very tiny single needle stitching, which is normally only used on bespoke, but we use it on bespoke and on all our ready to wear shirts as well. We use tiny stitching. We real mother of pearl buttons, cross stitch button holes sewn with lots of thread so they never fall off. Having been, you know, made shirts for such a long time, I know the things that people love and don't love. Yep. Lovely long shirt tails so they don't come untucked, which means basically using more fabric. So it's, you know, people's shirt tails can get shorter and shorter. Beautiful fabrics is the most important thing as well. Well, on top of the beautiful make, you know, we never hurry how we make our shirts. And the ladies who make my collars and trained to make our collars have been making for 30 years. And there is a huge skill in that. There's a huge skill in making collars, and all the way through. The lady who does all our training and trains all the young people who come and work for us and train, you know, in her image, Kath Muir has been making bespoke shirts for 30 years, and shirts. She's made the Prince of Wales's shirts throughout her life, and does continue to with us. So she is teaching all our young people learn all her tricks of her trade. We never hurry, and every shirt is made with care and love. And I don't quite know, there's a slight, my customers just say, I don't know what it is about your shirts, Emma. I know you use beautiful fabrics. I know you use all the lovely methods of shirt making, traditional methods of shirt making, but there's something about them, and that makes them feel special, that makes them more of a pleasure to wear. I don't know. I say to the ladies in the factory who make, and our one man who cuts, Andrew, and Ibrahim, that they can feel how you make those shirts. They can feel that you make them with care and with pleasure. But the fabric, without any doubt at all, makes a huge difference. I bought from Alumo in Switzerland, the most fantastic Swiss mill, for 30 years. And they make, equally, they weave and spin, weave and finish cotton in the same way, with absolute care and quality and trouble taken is the most important element of it, using a beautiful raw product. So the best raw cotton from Egypt, from the Nile Delta. And then, so the fabrics, I buy my cottons from Alumo, my linens from Solbiati, which is another lovely tiny little Italian business, beautiful linens, and brush cottons from Monti, a lovely company in Italy. So the fabrics, just the feel, you know, buy the best, the nicest, because it lasts the longest. It feels the best, and it looks the best. So never ever, I don't save money on fabric ever.
No, well, that's look, there we have it, everyone. A shirt truly fit for a king, or perhaps a future king, if the Prince of Wales makes it. Let's wait and see. But look, Emma, I could keep talking with you all day, but I will let you go and get back to business. But yeah, it's been a real pleasure catching up with you this morning, and yeah, once again, you know, just well done for all of the amazing work that you've done for the last decade and the last the last 6 months of things that we've been going through. Really, really laudable. So yeah, thank you so much for your time today.
Such a pleasure, Christian. Thank you very much.
And thank you to everyone who's joined us today as well. And farewell. We'll see you again once again soon on more Banter with Barker. Thank you again, Emma.
That's a pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers. Have a great day.
And you. Bye.
Bye.